Welcome into the Pillow Talk edition of Pugs and Parker. We do this each and every night, Monday through Thursday, most of the time, 9 o'clock till about 10 o'clock. It's cold in here. Got the air conditioning on. Hi, I'm Pugs Moran. This is James Parker. There he goes. Hey.
Hi. Oh, I'm here.
You're very popular.
Okay, apparently so. Well, I feel better. Thank you. That was very nice of you.
All right. How are you, James? How's life? How's things? How's tricks?
What does tricks mean?
I don't know. You never heard that expression?
No, how's tricks?
You have never heard the expression house tricks?
No.
God, it drives me nuts. I just thought there's something else that you had never heard of. Some old piece of classic American nomenclature that I'd used on you, and you were like, what's that? I never heard of that before. I don't remember what it was.
Well, I'm interested in idiomatic phrases that I'm not familiar with. I realize I'm from the middle of nowhere and I missed a lot of just common phrases growing up. I didn't interact with a whole lot of human beings outside of this small little zone. So yeah, I'm learning stuff all the time.
You know what to do should the cow be experiencing a breached birth. I bet you know what to do then.
Oh yeah, dude. Sleeve up. They have these big gloves that you put on now, but when I was a kid, adults would just go, you just put your arm back there. Your whole arm goes up past your elbow, and you flip that thing around. You get the hooves, and you flip it.
You got to save that mama's life. You got to pull that baby out. Byron knows. Byron says he says house tricks all the time. And people ask, what the? I don't know. House tricks. Hey, house tricks. It's like something you would hear in like an old timey movie.
Like, hey, how's that dame, that broad? You know?
No. I think it's more like
it's
you're fooling the world. You're out there, you're tricking the world. House tricks. How's it going? How's your scheme going? How's your game going? How's your little con? You know what I mean? House tricks. Because it's always like a fast talking guy. There you go.
No, like you're a wise guy, huh? You think you're funny.
Yeah. Okay. House tricks.
I don't know.
Hold on.
And then
go ahead.
Well, it just dawned on me that since we didn't do an official show yesterday, I could combine the two monologues from the last couple of days. And so we could have like a super long monologue if y'all can stomach it. If y'all don't throw up, promise not to throw up.
I'm fine with that. Hey, I just found out the phrase origin of house tricks. House tricks derived from a slang way of asking a lady of the night how business is, because her job was turning tricks. It is
see, dang it. That's the first thing I thought of, but I didn't want to say anything because that would seem like a creepy dude. But it sounds like you're asking a hooker about her night. That was my initial reaction, and I doubted myself because I don't want to seem like such a scumbag.
Well, that's because that's how it was originally, like 100 years ago. But it has come to be generally used as a way of saying, how's business or how are things? How's tricks?
Yeah. Like if you're just walking around at night and you bump into Pug's mom, you just, how's tricks, right? That'd be the first thing you would think of. First thing I would say. This thing on? Something happened?
So you've never heard that phrase before?
No, I've never heard house tricks. I really haven't.
All right. No big deal.
I guess maybe you're just descended from a long line of pimps, you know?
Oh, no.
Business conscious pimps.
I didn't even know that that's what the phrase meant. I just knew it as what it said is the more commonly used way of just asking somebody how things are going. How's tricks?
Dude, that might be even worse. You're not even aware of what you're saying. It's just ingrained in your DNA.
At least I knew it was a thing, James. You didn't even know it was a thing.
Oh, yeah. You win, pimp.
All right. Hold on. Let's do James's stupid, extra long Did you send me a...
Yeah, I just sent you another one. I'm a little behind in my entire life, so...
All right. Oh, you sent me two. You sent me three. You sent me
one. I'm an idiot. Just take the last one.
Just take the last one.
Most recent one.
All right.
This is going to be a long one. Dig in, people. They're not all promised to be good.
That's fine. They're going to be fine. They're going to be good. I have faith. They're going to be good. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 seconds. 6 seconds after clicking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Comfort Nest Lounge, the comedy stage. He does comedy. He does topical comedy. And I don't know why. Something's wrong with me today. Do you know what? I just ate a Whataburger. I did my 3 miles, and I was very healthy all day today, and I was craving a Whataburger. So I said, you know what? I can do that. I can just have a hamburger because I haven't eaten anything all day long. And turns out the Whataburger is like 800 calories. So like that's all I can have now. Like I can't have anything else. Well, actually, I can have some carrots and stuff like that. But now I just feel like literally within the last 20 minutes, I just finished it. I was sitting right here at this thing. And now I just feel super sluggish. Like I've been feeling good. I've been eating good. I've been getting my exercise. And today I said, you know what? I've been good and I really want this. And there is no reason to make this whole diet thing a crucifixion. There is no reason that I have to put myself through some kind of ridiculous. If I want a hamburger, I've earned a hamburger. I'm going to go have a ham. And now I just feel like garbage. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the comedy stage the one, the only, James Uhtred, son of Uhtred Parker.
We're like 4 episodes into The Last Kingdom, the new season. It's fantastic.
Season
Love
4?
It. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still on season 3.
I knew Britta was going to be a big thing from day one. So anyway, Jussie Smollett now serving 150 days in jail. The actor's trying to stay positive, saying this is no time to beat himself up. Jussie Smollett's being held in protective custody, which could save his life because everyone knows the Cook County Jail is MAGA country. That's what it is, MAGA country. A lot of MAGA supporters there. A lot of red hats. Yesterday, we switched to daylight savings time, or I guess 2 days ago, we switched to daylight savings time. This means Johnny Depp waited until 8 a.m. to start drinking. Man, that sounds like a joke my grandma would tell it, didn't it? I am, though, myself an active opponent of daylight saving time. In fact, I campaign against it 23/7. It's a bad one. All right. Yeah. Sunday we lost an hour. Great news if you're in prison.
Oh, come on. This guy. Give it to him. He's working hard up here.
And yesterday was International Day of Mathematics. I know you probably had a party for it, Pugs. Newly released test scores show that only 37% of high school seniors are proficient in math, and I feel sorry for the other half.
Get it? 37? That wouldn't be the other half. That would be 63.
You know math. You're one of those smart ones. Yesterday was also National Potato Chip Day. It's estimated that Americans are going to consume 1.2 billion pounds of chips this year, or even more if Pug's mom gets off her diet. According to the Globe magazine, Caitlyn Jenner's she's in a meltdown over her breasts are starting to sag. But to give you an idea of how bad it is, she just got nominated for a SAG award. For a SAG award. Like an award for sagging. I don't know. That's bad. According to NASA, the average temperature on Venus is more than 800 degrees Fahrenheit, which is even hotter than Uranus. It's in my contract. I have to do the Uranus jokes. It was on this day today, the Ides of March, March 15th. You know history, Pugs. This was the day Julius Caesar was killed in 44 BC, or at least that's what the government wants us to think. Thank you. Happy birthday to Mike Love of the Beach Boys. I don't want to say he's getting old, but see, Jeff left one over here. He's got a new song, In My Room, at the hospice facility.
That joke doesn't work. That joke doesn't work.
That was Jeff's. I was trying to incorporate Jeff and be all like improv-y. This is what I wrote, though. Happy birthday to Mike Love of the Beach Boys. I don't want to say he's getting old, but he and the band have a new song called Help Me, Rhonda. I've fallen and I can't get up.
The joke doesn't work.
They laughed. We tried, Jeff. We tried. We
Now, that
tried.
joke doesn't work because Mike Love had nothing to do with those songs. Those are Brian Wilson songs. If it was Brian Wilson's birthday, they would work. They don't work for Mike Love. Mike Love is just riding coattails.
And finally, happy birthday to Dee Snider, Twisted Sister. Remember he sang "I Want to Rock"?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he and the band haven't what? I
No.
want to rock. That's him, right? It is him.
That is him, but you're obviously working a joke. That's why I stopped myself, because the song most people associate with him is "We're Not Gonna Take It." But okay, you want to go with the B-side to make the joke work? That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, did you hear about his new song, Pugs? They just put out a new song called "I Want to Walk in Bathtub."
There it is. That's it.
You think we'd be good at this by now? You know, I think it wouldn't suck.
That was tight one. That was tight. Yeah. That was pretty. I know. Good.
Self-deprecation. I'm attempting to not sound like a pompous ass. Be like, man, we're good.
You were fine. All right. How are you, James? How's everything?
Everything's okay. Not great, but good.
So I'm surprised you didn't do a certain joke in there, because today, I don't know if you know what today is. Today is on the noon show. We like to go through the long list of things that today is. It's national, for instance, it's National Pears Helene Day. I don't know what Pears Helene is, but it sounds delicious.
No idea.
It's warm poached pears served on some French vanilla ice cream drizzled with chocolate sauce. It sounds delightful.
Okay.
But it's national. Yeah, I didn't know what it was either. But it is National Pears Helene Day. It is also National Equal Pay for Women Day. And I predicted that James would have some hot takes on National Equal Pay for Women Day. Is this still a poorly fortified position that you have staked out for yourself?
What do you mean? How's it poorly fortified?
I don't know. Maybe I should just let you explain. You don't believe that women should make as much money as men, do you?
That's not exactly what I believe. It's more like I'm indifferent to it. As long as the outcome matches like the effort, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. Effort's definitely the wrong word.
What are we talking about? Are we like incoming attorneys at a law firm, or are we trying to see who can lift the most weights? Because if that's the situation, then I think that men, if they can lift more weights, should probably earn more money if we're paying them based upon the amount of weight that is lifted. But National Equal Pay Day isn't about that. It talks about the pay discrepancy that is pretty much across the board in all white-collar positions here in America. And I don't think this is about white-collar jobs, but I think it probably extends to blue-collar jobs as well.
Yeah, I don't know why. See, like, I disagree with basically every talking point that when you walk down this hallway and you look in all the doors. I disagree with all of them. For one thing, why is it a big deal if men make more money when they take it home and women get to spend more of it than men do? Who's really
let me stop you there. What does that mean? What do you mean women get to spend more of it? Women don't take the money home?
No, most of the household spending is controlled by women, and when you take a look, if they break it down, by gender, the total amount of income that comes into households, the amount of it that is controlled by women is more than 50%. It's like, I mean, it's not a huge gap, but women make less, but they still get to spend more than men. So, like,
so what about women who aren't married? What about a woman who's not married? Does she deserve to make less money?
Well, look, there's individual situations that deviate from the norm, but that's what the norm is. That's what the average is. So I mean,
if a woman gets married, she should get a pay cut.
No, I didn't say any of that. I don't know who you're talking to. I didn't say if they get married.
What? Well, it sounds to me like you're saying because men. I mean, I don't get that argument right there. That men take their money home and women control the money. I mean, I don't know what that is based. Is that based on what? Where women stay home?
What it means is in the instance where a man makes money and a woman spends it.
See, that's what I push back. What does that mean? What do you mean a man doesn't spend money? A man spends money.
Of course, both of these things can happen. But more often than the other way around, a woman is spending the man's money than a man is spending a woman's money. Now, there's exceptions, of course, but I'm just saying on the average, when that happens, if you add it
I'd like to see these statistics. What do you mean on the average? How I don't. That's what I don't get.
okay, so it's in household spending statistics.
It
Like
sounds
household
like
spending is
you're just
controlled by.
so a household. Okay, so but that has nothing to do with this. Whether a woman is married, a member of a household, has kids or whatever, that doesn't matter. It's just if a woman goes to get a job and it's the same job that a man is going for. Let's say the man gets paid $15 an hour and the woman gets $13 an hour. I'm trying to get you to justify that. That's what we're talking about. Pay inequality, which is a real thing. And today is National Pay Equality Day. And you're like using all of this, like, I don't know, I've always been amused by this take because I find it to be funny. But I guess you're not as married to this take as you used to be.
No, I'm totally married to the take. I'm just saying
Yeah.
these all these arguments just sound absurd to me. It sounds like you're trying, not you specifically, but the people that come up with, hey, this is gender equity payday or whatever. You want there to be some sort of issue, and there's not again, not you, Pugs. I feel like I'm talking to you, but I'm just saying maybe I should say they want there to be some sort of issue. But when you break it down, it's not really that bad because it depends job to job. There's plenty of jobs where women make more money than men. There's plenty of high paying jobs where women make more money than men, starting out and in practice. And
Porn. Is there another? Is there
yeah, go to the radio sales floor.
porn? Women make more in radio sales than men? I mean,
No,
to walk in the door?
look, I don't know what the overall numbers are broken down by industry, but it does exist where there's jobs where women make more than men when they start and in practice and after so and so years of experience. There are jobs that women do better than men, and they make more money than men. And so it's not like everywhere you go it's all tilted toward men. Maybe just men earn it. Maybe there's just a different experience that employer has had with men versus women that causes him to go that way or her to go that way. You can also look at some of the times they break down the statistics and they're like, okay, if men are doing the hiring, this is the result. If women do the hiring, a lot of times you get the same result or something that's even more disparate between the genders. So the idea that whatever disparate impact there is based solely on gender bigotry is not proven either.
Well, this isn't working. I'm just trying to get the ladies mad at you. Each year on this day in March or April, I don't understand why it's this day in March or April. Must depend on the time of the month. Hey, see what I
Oh,
did there?
that was
National Equal
great.
Pay Day brings awareness to pay discrepancies between men and women for the same work. The day represents how far into the year a woman works to earn as much as a man doing the same job. While the observance is only a couple decades old, the fight for equal pay has been going on for nearly a century. Early in the 20th century, women in the United States and around the world began taking a stand. They demanded fair pay and better working conditions, voting rights, and legal rights. Since that time, women have made great strides towards equal pay, but there is still work to be done. Well, maybe if they didn't complain so much. In 2018, employers continued to fail to pay equally skilled. In 2018, employers continued to fail to pay equally skilled women the same amount of pay they were paying their male counterparts. While education gave women an edge, they still were paid 88% of their male equivalents. In positions that didn't require analytical skills, the gap increased to 83%. More women are in the workplace. They also hold more skilled positions. With the demand for skilled workers increasing, women's hourly wages are growing faster than men's. However, despite that, the gap remains. Doesn't make sense. How can you take part in equal pay? I don't care. Let's see. Equal Pay Day first started in 1996 by the National Committee on Equal Pay to bring awareness to demonstrate wage inequalities between men and women. For more information, visit pay-equity.org. All right. That's all. That's what today is. I thought you'd have a more ardent view on this day.
Well, my ardent view is I'm encouraging indifference toward the gender pay gap because it's not based on flat out anti-woman bigotry that can't be proven, that hasn't been proven. The stats don't bear it out. There's enough things that go the opposite way, and just the whole idea that we keep having to have this argument because no one, the women crowd over here, the people that are all gung ho about this, the true believers, not the people that just kind of go along to get along, but the true believers that push this stuff, they just go and they find like a couple of statistics here and there, and they're like, "We told you men are evil." But these people don't say anything that when women are 15% of the homeless population, they don't say, oh, wow, we must live in a horribly oppressive matriarchal society that oppresses men when they're 85% of the homeless population or 87% of the federal prison population or 95% of the people who are executed on death row. They're like,
is that a real statistic? Women are only 15% of the homeless population?
yes, women are only 15% of the homeless population. Women are less than 25% of suicides.
Well, the reason that they're less for the homeless population is because there's always a guy willing to take a girl in.
I know. It sounds like kind of a nice matriarchal aspect to this otherwise hellhole patriarchy. That is
I was looking for, you used to have hot takes that had to do with menstrual cycles and women having babies and missing time because of their having kids. You used to have all these hot takes on this issue, and I didn't get none of them.
Well, look, that explains why in some instances a woman who's equally qualified and has an equal level of education is getting hired at a lower level because she took some time off. She took a few years off. My wife took some time off. My wife kind of left her career so she could be a teacher at a private school for a few years. So just for the schedule, the convenient schedule. So over the summer we didn't have to put them in daycare. You know, she could still stay sort of home with them. But like it, I don't see him complaining about women being a majority of bachelor's degrees. I don't see him complaining about women being like 60-something% of master's degrees. Women are a majority of doctorates. Women are.
I think the complaint is that they are these things, but they're also still making 88 cents on the dollar to a man.
Well, yeah, but that's if you take a ridiculous average that doesn't control for any variables like lifestyle choice or degree choice or the fact that men are 98% of workplace fatalities. And then even if you roll this into, well, you know, they don't get a fair shake in the workplace, they still get to spend more of the money once it gets home. They still get to spend, and look, it's not always, you know, married person.
True. Hold on, we gotta go back. 98% of workplace fatalities. That can't be true. That's got to be one of those made-up stats you just threw out.
It's above 90% every year, but there was one year where it was 98%. It's probably like 92, 95% most years.
So out of every 100 people who died in the workplace, 98 of them were men.
Yeah, it's in the 90s. It's in the 90s.
No, that can't be.
Check it out. That's a good one. That's one of my favorite ones. Yeah. And you don't see the women's lib people saying, oh, man, that's not fair. Men get to do 98% of workplace fatalities or 92% or whatever, 95% of workplace fatalities. We're only 5% of them. You know, you don't see them demanding. How come we don't have to register to draft so we can vote? You know, they only want the good stuff, and they only complain about the good stuff, and they totally leave out the fact that whenever you're driving under a bridge in some downtown city in a tent city, that 85% of the homeless people are men. They don't care about that. They'll drive past all the male death and suffering and sickness and disease and addiction on the way to gripe about how awful men are.
Well, you got Jeff. Jeff's on your side. Jeff's buying. Jeff's buying your argument.
Yeah, and look, when we talk about total spending, think about it like this: like when if I do make more money than my wife and we split the bills, right there, she's ahead, right? She's paying like. Does that make sense?
No, not really, because she's not ahead. Because are you doing the same job? If you're doing the same job and you're making more than her, that's the problem. That's the issue. You both bring money in.
Yeah, I said that one wrong. That was a horrible example. But the way it works out by averages, when the guy contributes more to the pot, then the woman spends more than she earns, than she brings in. She spends more of his money more often than he spends of her money. But even past that, there's women that get child support. There's women that get alimony. There's women that get like a guy's inheritance or a guy's life insurance, or inherits his IRA or his assets, or just straight up cash sitting in the bank. Women end up spending more of the money earned, and it's a pretty big clip there. It's not like a giant chasm, but it's somewhere like 60% of household spending is controlled by women. So even though men make more than women, I mean, where's the real power in there? The guy who makes the money, or the woman who gets to control how it's spent? Which one would you rather be?
Well, I don't know that I agree with the women controls how it's spent argument. I think that sounds
Well, that's not like really an opinion. Women definitely control more of the household spending than men do. I mean, that's why think of all the radio formats that are for women and how few of them are for men. When you look at commercials, even on something manly like a football game, half of them are aimed at women. When you look at it during the day, all of them are aimed at women. They do. They do. They outlive us, and they outlive us by a nice little chunk.
April says men can't follow instructions or ask for directions. That's why there are more male deaths.
That's part of it. That's actually a legit point. I can't argue with that. But look, when we talk about like violence against women, there's like a Violence Against Women Act. Women are the least likely to have violence committed on them. Like if a man is committing an act of violence, he's most likely to commit it against another man. His second most likely target is himself, and then third on the list would be a woman. That's the least likely target he's going to have of a male violent act. Conversely, women are more likely to commit violence against men than other women. So like everyone's gunning after dudes. Women are the last people that get gunned at, but we have the Violence Against Women Act, not the Violence Against Men Act, even though the morgue is full. The violence in this country is almost exclusively against men. We're like a big chunk of the murder victims.
All right. I don't mean to get dark. I just thought you had some interesting takes, and you do. I had to pry it out of you, but that's all right. That's all right. We got there.
Well, look, a lot of it, I've kind of zoomed out on my argument because I've tried to, in the past, really make the point that even if they do earn 88% of what we make, that's just because we beat them. That's just because we run faster and jump higher and we're stronger and smarter. No offense, but IQ tests bear it out, and especially when our bell curve is flatter, so we have more of the crazy, dumb people that are homeless and in prison and doing stupid things, but we also have more of the geniuses that are actually on just the very tip of the spear of the bell curve, that when you try and go to the tippy top of any profession, of course, it's going to skew a little bit male just because we have a flatter bell curve. That doesn't mean we're better. It just means on average, we produce more in the extremes and they produce more at the top of the hump.
You've got a fan in Jeff. Jeff says, I was an abused husband. Preach it, James. And she spent all my money on wine, lottery tickets, and bingo.
Yeah, but there's no organization or support group Jeff can go to. There's no place in society. There's no National Men's Day, or there's no battered man shelter. No one gives a crap about us. No one. So to act like it's a patriarchal society is laughable. We're all falling all over ourselves to talk about how great women are, and great women are so strong, and she can STEM, like women can be.
Well, maybe we did that because they couldn't even vote until 1920. I mean, maybe that's why. I mean, how is it that?
No, and that's the adorable part.
It absolutely is. This is a male dominant. This whole country was set up by men in the way men.
You're welcome.
We didn't even have a woman in the United States Congress until like 1930. We just did that on the High Noon Show, the first female congresswoman. So, I mean, it was set up by men. It was all created by men, but that wasn't because women were incapable of doing it. It was because, again, we go back to the bigger, stronger, more dominant male who didn't let women do all that stuff. Women were
also, a lot of this has to do with, strangely enough, like estate planning, to where when you look at your kids, you see a big strong dude, and you see the women, and you love the women just as much. But all of human history up until about 50 years ago, they had like a 22% chance of dying in childbirth. So you're not going to put all your hopes and dreams and foundation and training and investment into this lady who has a better than 1 in 5 chance dying, where you have this son who really only has about a 10% chance of dying, maybe 15%.
And in that same time period that you're quoting that statistic about death and childbirth, how many dudes dropped dead by the time they were 50 of heart attacks?
Yeah, no, and that's fine, because that's on the back end when you're not productive anymore. That's when you've already passed on the genes.
Yeah, you're almost 50. I'm 50. What do you mean we're not productive anymore? These are different times.
Yeah, well, we don't have a sky harvesting wheat.
50 back then was like 70 now. It was an older 50.
Yeah, yeah, because we sat out all day, like harvesting wheat or plowing crops, and just getting beaten up by the sun and
Do you know
animal
where I'm
attacks.
seeing
And
you know where I'm seeing that? And it's shocking. So I'm writing this book on the history of the Chicago White Sox, and I'm doing all of these biographies and little pages about players who, came up and played from 1890 to 1905, guys like that. And there are pictures of these guys. And it is shocking, man. It is shocking. You will see a picture of what is obviously a 55-year-old man, and it turns out he's 22. And it's like, what? That person is 22 years old. Yes, he retired when he was 27, and you see these pictures of these dudes in their 20s from like 1910, and it's freaky. These guys look so. Here, I'll pull up a guy for you. I'll show
no,
you.
I've seen some of your posts, and
Crazy.
it's a different. Like in the summer, I would go out and I would play outside, and I would get sunburnt and go swimming or whatever, and then I would come back inside the air conditioning and lounge in my bedroom and play Nintendo until I fell asleep playing Mario. They never did that. They're just out there hacking it all day. They're macheting some sugar cane down, or probably tobacco. Who are we kidding? Back then, tobacco plants. Then they're out there plowing, they're seeding, they're harvesting, they're having to tote it up to the barn, they're pitching hay, they're taking care of the animals, they got to butcher a hog, they got to catch a chicken, they got to churn some butter.
James, that's Kid Gleason. His name is Kid because he was young. How old is Kid Gleason in this picture, James? How old does he look? How old?
51. He looks your age, right?
He's 28.
Jesus
This
Lord.
is 28 years old in 1905.
Yeah, look, we're so spoiled, we've never even had to churn our own butter.
I know.
But I bet Kid has.
Kid Gleason knows how to save a cow during a breech birth. Kid Gleason has done that a dozen times. Look at him. He died at 42 or something. He died like young. So
yeah, he got his arm caught in a cotton gin or something, right?
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to bring that up. I appreciate you. It's National Women's Pay them the same day, no matter what. What do you got? You got anything today?
Well, hey, so my greatest, wildest dream when it comes to the gender pay gap is I already know how to solve all this. I can complain about it, but I've talked enough about it on the radio for decades now that I've got solution to some of these. And it would start with the national women's soccer team, and they gripe about how we go and we actually do better at our tournaments, and we deserve to be paid more than the men. And there's such an easy answer to that: line them up on the field and let them play.
Well,
You're really better than them? Line them up then, smart ass, and just let the world see. Let the world see how bad they would lose, and then that'll shut them up. They'll be like, "Yeah, we see why you get paid less."
But that's not fair, because that's not what the pay is based upon. The pay is based upon how much money the teams bring in, and the U.S. women's soccer team brings in far more money than the U.S. men's soccer. The women play in football stadiums on national TV when they're playing in quarterfinal matches, and the men can't even qualify.
I know,
That's
but
what it's about.
When you compare it to the year that the women's national team makes it to the World Cup and the men's national team did not make it to the World Cup, yes, that year they brought in more revenue because the U.S. men's national team actually played in the did not get to play in the one big sporting event that the women's team played in. So yeah, that's kind of like a false comparison there. In this one sliver and this one slice of the soccer universe, yes, you found a women's team that made more than a men's team, but it's because they played in a tournament that the men did not. So it's just a BS
paid that? How come they didn't get paid that year?
They didn't get paid? Well, I'm for them getting paid. They got paid $0.
Well, no, but they got, compared to the men, they made much less than the
men. Did they make much less, or did they make
I
much
don't
less
know.
per game?
I have no idea about this argument, because isn't that amateur? I thought they weren't supposed to be paid. So what are we talking about?
Oh no, that's not amateur at all. That the World Cup is by no means amateur.
Okay.
It's all pros. And yeah, and I'm pretty sure Megan Rapinoe probably made more money that year than every guy on the men's team. I'm pretty sure of it.
All right. Hey, we've covered this ground. I got nowhere else to go with it. I didn't
Well,
really have any take on it. I
It's
just
it's 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 such a silly argument to have in sports. It's kind of like the our favorite swimmer Leah Thomas, where don't listen to us. They're like, well, it doesn't matter. She should be able to swim with the girls if she wants. Fine, let her swim with the girls then. Fine. And so in this one, when they're like, we deserve to be paid better than the men because we actually win our games. Oh,
okay.
line up then. Line them up, smartass.
We should explain to people who don't know who Leah Thomas is. Leah Thomas is a trans women's swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania. She last year or maybe the year before at this point, I don't know, but she had recently been a male swimmer on the men's college swim team. She then became a woman, and now she is on the women's swim team, and she's crushing it. She's killing all the women.
He was ranked 524th in the NCAA for men's swimming.
Okay.
After the transition, air quotes,
Mhm.
number one female swimmer.
Why the air quotes? Why the disrespect? Why the just why
To acknowledge that that's really a dude that is pretending to be a girl, and other people are going along with it, and I just enjoy poking at these people. Because
okay.
look, I'll go look if she's in the room, I'll say it to her, and I don't want to upset anyone. I just don't want to like disrespect the individual. But on a philosophical like concept, like on the ethereal concept of letting trans women compete against women in sports,
You're so
don't you think?
magnanimous.
What?
You are so it's gutless.
Well,
It's gutless.
oh, it's definitely not gutless.
To her face, you'll be nice, but behind her back, you'll talk all kinds of shit.
No.
I
Even
have to agree
to
with
her
you.
face, I would happily say you should not be allowed to swim against women in the NCAA. I would say that.
Yeah, I would too, because I happen to agree that there is a difference between who she was very recently and who she's competing against now. As far as physical abilities and strength and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't seem fair. It's the same argument that I see when a dude transitions to a woman and then wants to fight MMA and then just knocks out
Sure.
the Fallon Fox thing. Fallon Fox was a dude MMA fighter who became a female MMA fighter, and then she just started crushing people's skulls. And there was a big uproar, like, well, she shouldn't be able to do that. And then, oh no, but she's a woman now. And I'm like, yeah. Slow down. We need to slow down because we need to really talk about this.
Yeah, and it's even more basic than that. The whole reasons women's sports exist is because they can't compete against the guys. There would be zero professional basketball players if we only had the female basketball players if we only had the NBA. Instead of we have to create the WNBA, or none of them would have a league to play in. So since all of women's athletics is basically a set aside, it's like a minor league that excludes dudes just so women can have an arena to compete in. It doesn't make any sense to let people go from that initial group into the set aside league that was created just for this special biological class of people. This,
with the exception being women's tennis. Women's tennis players have historically made way more than male tennis players. Tennis,
yes, but they still get their butts kicked when they play against men.
Yeah, but more people seem to be interested in watching women play tennis.
Oh, and rightfully so. And in that case, yeah, heck yeah, more people know about Serena Williams, and I think she probably makes more money than any male tennis player by a long yard.
And of course, there's professional gymnastics. Women's gymnastics is probably the women's pro gymnastics circuit.
There's another place where they make more than men, and that's in beach volleyball.
Beach volleyball, yeah, rather watch.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's just based totally on their talent alone, and not the fact that they're nicer to look at.
Yeah.
Gymnastics, tennis, beach volleyball. See a pattern there?
And porn.
Oh, you're roping that in. Okay. I was going to be a little more subtle about it, but go ahead, stomp on it, Godzilla.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've long believed that pornographic actresses and pornographic actors, they're sexual athletes. That is a whole different kind of sex that you or me or the average person, we can't do. That is a whole other game. Sexual athletes.
Nah, Pugs, they got pills for you, bud. You'll be fine.
If they don't use pills in porn, at least that was always frowned upon. That was always looked down upon.
How do you have this depth of knowledge?
Dude, come on. You know who I used to be friends with all kinds of porn people. I
used to know they were like the sponsors at our radio station. I didn't know you were like getting them for tips.
Well, Bruce was like one of my closest friends. Bruce was my buddy. And Bruce was he owned digital. What company did he own? He owned one of those big companies that he sold. I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
Amazing Superstore.
But well, no, that was just one of his little things. He owns restaurants and he owned that store. But he owned what was digital some one of the big porn companies that they ended up selling it out to Vivid in like 2010. I don't remember what it was. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, he was a producer, and he used to tell me that was frowned upon. But that may have changed. Hey, I'm an old man. We're going back 10, 15 years. That was back when the Viagra was still new. Maybe now they use it. I don't know. I just believe that they're sexual athletes.
Well, that's like a performance-enhancing drug. That's like A-Rod juicing up, isn't it?
It is. All right.
The Barry Bonds.
Do you have anything else? Or
no, that's about it.
That was
a good fun of women.
All right. I wanted to do something with you to celebrate March Madness. Do you do the brackets? Are you a bracket guy?
See, I work out of the house now, so it would just be me against me. Like, no, I don't. I don't have any real friends to do it against online, and we don't do that.
I don't know. Ed's like Digital Playground. I'm like, was it Digital Playground? I don't know. Whatever it was, he was one of him and his partner Randy, who was married to Ashley Knight. I don't remember Randy's last name. Anyway, I should ask Schwartz. What company did he own? Because it's not a company anymore. It's not. I mean, it hasn't been a company in like 10 years. But like 15 years ago, it was one of the big porn companies. Don't you remember we used to go out to L.A.? He used to take us to L.A. once a year. And
I never got to go.
Oh, yeah, and we'd go check in on all of the productions that his company was doing. So we'd just spend a day driving from porno shoot to porno shoot. It's just weird.
Yeah, that was never part of my experience. No.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm sorry about that. All right, so I wanted to do a March Madness bracket with you, but I want to give you a little bit of time to put it together. The tournament starts on Thursday night. I was going to offer this up yesterday, but so I always wanted to do. You're familiar with the brackets, right? It's a North Division, a West Division, a South Division, and an East Division. And the North has a 1 through 16, and then there's another one 1 through 16, and then on the other side of the brackets there's a 1 through 16, and then another 1 through 16. Right? You understand? You pull up like a bracket, you see how it is. Like a 1 seed will play a 16 seed.
Sure. Yep.
So I wanted to do this thing. I wanted to do I had this idea. I hate to say this because first time I had this idea like back in 1997, and we started doing it on the morning show that I worked on. It was very popular. And then the other day I was driving. It was Monday. I was driving my kid to school, and I was listening to a radio show on the Odyssey app. I listen to Chicago sports radio in the morning. And one of the shows there is doing the same bit that I came up with in 1997. And I'm sure that other radio shows do this bit. But I love this bit. And I thought, this might be something fun that we could do with James. And we could kill a whole hour going through this.
Well, can I guess?
Yeah.
Where you make the mascots fight each other?
No. No, that would be hard for college. There's a lot of like stupid mascots in college.
Well, I don't even know what Norfolk State's mascot is.
Exactly. You'd have to figure that out. No, so basically what it is you would take one half of the brackets. So you would have to come up with 32 teams. And then I would come up with 32 teams on my half. Okay. And then we would go through so it was called, I think we used to call it like Tournament of Awesomeness or Tournament of, it started out as like just like food. We did it with food, like the best foods, but then it became just like things that are awesome. Like I'll give you an example. Like, so let's say you're making a list. You're making, let's say your first 1 through 16, right? So let's say you're doing your West bracket. And these are the teams that are going to be competing in the West bracket, teams 1 through 16. You got a number 1 ranked team, and then 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 16, the team that just snuck in, right? All right, so like these would be things that are just awesome to you, things that you think are awesome. So like maybe your number 1 seed would be your wife, right? So my wife is the number 1 seed in the West, right? So then you would come up with like, what's something else? Number 2. What's the number 2 seed? I don't know. Maybe you like your firstborn kid. So then your firstborn kid would be the number 2 seed. Your wife would be number 1. And you'd go down like that. But you could include everything to the point where you could get to your 16 seed and it could be like Hostess Ding Dongs because you like Hostess Ding Dongs, right? So then the first matchup would be your 1 versus 16. And you would go through it. You'd be like, okay, so my number 1 seed, my wife, versus my love of Hostess Ding Dongs. All right, I got to give that to my wife. The wife moves on. And there you go. So you moved on the wife. But you could have anything. You could have like for me, like the 3rd season of Seinfeld, I think is the absolute best season of Seinfeld. So the 3rd season of Seinfeld in my list might be like a number 7 seed. And it might take like my number 1 seed would be my mom, right? So like my mom would get the number 1 seed, but then my number 16 seed might be, I really like this stuff. So I think Leslie sent me this. Leslie sent me a bunch of this stuff. This is Zevia Cola. This is awesome cola. This stuff is really good. It's 0 calorie and it tastes delicious. So this might be my 16 seed. So is where your first round game might feature your wife taking on Hostess Ding Dongs. And I don't even know that you like Hostess Ding Dongs, but I just use that as a placeholder. So you would have that. That would be my first round would be my mom versus Zevia Cola. And basically we do a whole bracket. I do 32. 2 groups of 1 through 16. So you're going to have 2 number 1 seeds, right? So you might have 1 through 16 with number 1 being your mom, a number 1 seed. You might have your wife as a number 1 seed in the second bracket. And then I'll have my brackets. And then we just work through them and we see who gets to the championship game. And it's going to be either my mom versus your wife if the number 1 seeds hold up, or it'll be there could be dark horses, nachos. Nachos might suddenly just start making their way through because basically the concept is one of them has to go. One of them has to go away.
Doesn't this strike you as like just incredibly like self-centered and navel gazing? Like, here's all the stuff I like, and then I'm going to compare all the stuff I like, and I'm going to decide out of all the stuff I like which one I like better. And then I'm going to compare these other ones that I like, these 2 things I like, and which one I like better. And then they're going to go against each other. And after the ones that I like go against all the other ones I like, we're going to do them against the ones that you like.
Yeah, but then it comes down to who comes out of my bracket versus who comes out of your bracket.
Well, we already know that. It's going to be my wife and your mom, or my wife and Mason.
I don't know that.
You like Mace better than your mom.
Yeah, you know what? We did have a rule though.
Can't do kids.
Yeah, you can't do your kids or your wife because then it just turns into how are you going to say that you like the fajitas from Desperados better than your wife? You know what I mean? So it's got to be. I was just doing that as an example, but yeah, there are like a couple of things. Like it's just got to be things that are awesome in your life, and you'll figure out like what are you drinking there? You like that? What are you drinking?
This?
Yeah.
This is Fireball.
Okay, so you like Fireball. So maybe Fireball is a 6 seed in one of your brackets.
Jeff said I had to put it on ice so I didn't look like such a hick. And plus I was drinking out of a little skull. And so I put it in a glass with ice so Jeff wouldn't think less of me.
All right. Hey, we don't have to do it. I just wanted to do a tournament.
Someone else was doing this. You saw someone stole your idea. Where was this being done? Let me see what it looks like. Because it sounds like you're just digging in your belly button for 10 minutes.
No, there's people have done it over the years.
Really?
It was very popular. It was very popular when we did it, and then all of a sudden, all these radio stations started doing it.
I like it when you do the hot chicks in a bracket. Those are always awesome. I hate it when people do songs in a bracket, like what's the best rock song of all time, or what's the best reggae song, or what's the best whatever.
I like the Tournament of Awesomeness because it allows you to really get weird. It allows you to admit some of the things that you like. Like, here we go in the 3rd round semifinal, free internet porn taking on your dog when you were in high school. You know, it's like, what do you like more? Your dog when you were in high school who's been dead for 20 years, or the fact that you have access to free internet porn? See, it forces you to really, look at who you are as a person.
Yikes. We're not going to be that honest then.
That's the whole point of it. You have to be honest. Yeah. Oh, are you telling me that Pornhub wins right now because you can't see anything that's in your life that is more awesome than Pornhub?
I'm just saying, like, we don't need to be making
mowing the lawn.
We don't need to be making videos that can prevent us from future employment.
Okay. All right. It was just an idea. I wanted to do our Tournament of Awesomeness. that has been stolen by a lot of people that I created on the Kevin Matthews Show back in 1997. I was nobody doing it. There was nobody else
I
doing
thought
it.
you said someone stole your idea and someone's doing it.
Well, they did. Other radio stations have been doing it for years. It pops up every once in a while, and it always bothers me. It's always like, yeah.
Yeah, but how many of them are like honest? Because like a third of these people should be like, cocaine is my top seed, right?
Well, but wouldn't that be good? If it's honest, if the person is honest, then yeah, maybe cocaine. I would cocaine wouldn't make. Maybe 20 years ago, maybe I'd put cocaine in there, but it probably wouldn't get out of a region. It would probably lose out to something like Whataburger double cheeseburgers with jalapenos. That would probably beat it. Weed, legalized weed. That might be a big.
Yes, definitely not the illegal stuff, huh, Pugs?
Well, no, the idea is that we want it legalized. So be the idea of weed being legalized and having it legal. You could do illegal weed. You could be doing, if that's maybe you're a fetishist. Maybe there's something about being a criminal that turns you on. You could have legal weed taking on illegal weed in a bracket, and then you'd really have to think, how much do I like being an outlaw? Is there something about being an outlaw because the weed is the same, but one makes you a criminal and the other makes you legal? Do you appreciate on some level?
No, isn't one better? Wouldn't you just assume that the legal one is better because it's not grown in some college kid's attic in Denton?
Who are you buying weed from? Everybody every bit of illegal weed that I've had over the years is always from some cartel grow house somewhere that's probably just as, you know what I mean? I mean, nobody's that's a ditch weed. There hasn't been any such thing as ditch weed in 30 years. No, they don't bring weed in barrels over, the border anymore. Every neighborhood has a house that you know what I mean? Every neighborhood's got a grow house in it, is all I'm saying. I mean, not so much.
I hear you.
It's all hydroponic, man. It's all good stuff now. All the weed is good. Sticks and stems. When was the last time you had to separate sticks and stems? That's something that really old dudes talk about from the 70s. That's not something that has been around since the 90s.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, Pugs. What are these sticks and seeds you
speak right, because you only get good stuff. Because you only get vape stuff.
Because we don't do illegal drugs ever. Ever. It's illegal.
Yeah. That's true.
Some of us would like to get a job. Pugs.
It'll be legal someday. It'll be legal someday here.
Well, then we can do whole bits about it, and we can buy bricks of it, and we'll build a little house out of it, and we'll smoke our house, okay? But until then, we don't do any of that stuff. We don't condone any of that stuff, future employers.
You're not going to take a stand, being a coward. You're not going to be an outlaw. You're not going to be willing to stand on your own principles. You're just going to.
I'm not going to be able to afford it if I don't get a job.
Game. Oklahoma goes recreational in coming November. Then they'll get our gambling dollars and weed dollars. And now we'll go. They're going to flip. Oklahoma did the thing where it was medical first. A couple of states did that over the 20 years. It took 20 years. First they went medical, and then that's not happening anymore. Shit's just going full recreational now. States that have no legal or medical or anything, they're not doing that old template where first we're going to make it for medical. No.
There was such an obvious facade anyway.
It was baby steps. It was a way to baby step and get the community on board. Back when, 70% of the population was still it should be illegal because kids get high and they jump off the roof thinking they can fly. That's not the case anymore.
Right. Now, and it was such a wrong argument to say, but you wouldn't deny a person his medicine, would you? It's is that what Cheech is doing? Taking medicine? Is that what he's doing?
No, but there are a lot of people who do. I mean,
of course, no. It's but I mean, you're obviously taking out a small fraction of the weed use and using it as a camel's nose under the tent when you should have just blasted through the tent, being kind of the my body, my choice, or freedom, or I thought this was a free country, or I'll do what I want kind of attitude. Would have saved us a lot of trouble. Because look, they're doing it now.
Yeah. I don't know. Whenever I would go to the dispensary, the Curaleaf store, Curaleaf, that's my brand, Curaleaf, fine stuff. Whenever I'd go to the Curaleaf store, I was always a bit depressed because you had to wait in line. and you had to just like stand there, and you were standing in line with people who were obviously really sick, like old people with their oxygen stuff, and they're in line getting their weed. It's just although you didn't have, that's actually not true. I misrepresented that, because in Illinois, people who had medical cards, like anybody could buy it because it's legal, but if you had a medical card, you didn't have to wait in line. You just got to walk right in. So, or roll, whatever the case is. Maybe you were in a wheelchair.
Common courtesy, yes.
Common courtesy. I'm just
Jump the weed line.
I'm just looking to giggle a little while I watch this season of The Last Kingdom. And this dude's actually got chronic pain from his multiple bouts of leukemia or whatever the heck it is that he's going through. Maybe I should let him go first. Go ahead, man. You go ahead. You get what you need. I'll take the scraps. I tell you, I went to the parade. We haven't talked since we went to the since me
St. Patrick's parade, huh?
We went to the St. Patrick's parade.
How was it?
Saturday. Well, James, I thought maybe this was a conversation, and we should have, because we're running out of time here. We'll have this conversation on Thursday. But I'm 100% Irish, and very proud of my culture. I know a lot about my family's history. I know a lot about where we came from. I know a lot about why we came here. I know a lot about what the Irish went through in this country. And my kid, who, by the way, my kid and I, we had like a full-blown, this was our St. Patrick's weekend, so we had a full-blown learn your culture kind of a weekend thing. On Friday night, we learned about the Troubles. I made him watch a documentary on the Troubles. Blew his mind. He had no idea this stuff was going on. He was just, terrible, terrible stuff. We talked about the whole English thing, about why the Irish hate the English, and all that. And then he talked about how we were enslaved. We had our land stolen. We were oppressed for 1,000 years, and we never gave up. The Irish people just kept fighting, and that's why we have our own country today. But even to this day, they still have taken the top half of our country away from us, and we want to unify it, but not as long as the Queen's alive. We got that. So he learned a lot about what being Irish means, as opposed to, it just being something that, oh yeah, I'm Irish, and then him not knowing anything, because a lot of people don't know about their cultures. I think we talked about that a couple of nights ago, about how people just don't, I'm an American. What do you mean? What's my culture? So he learned all about his culture. We listened to Irish music. We had a big Irish dinner on Sunday night. We couple of different versions of corned beef that I did with potatoes, and made a nice cabbage salad. Oh, it was delicious. Saturday, we go to the parade. Dude, I go to this Dallas parade, and I love the parade. I've been to the Dallas St. Patrick's Day parade probably a dozen times over the years. It's a great time. It's a good time. But he and I got into this conversation because we did not hear the entire parade. We saw the entire parade. He got to meet Dirk Nowitzki. That was very exciting for him. He didn't get a picture because I didn't get my camera out in time, but Dirk gave him a big hug, and they like they were posed like they were going to take a selfie, but I couldn't get the selfie out in time. So Dirk goes, "Too slow, Dad," and he moves on. And I'm like, okay. But my kid got a hug from Dirk and a high five, and it was very cool. So we're at the entire parade. We saw every single float in this parade. We watched the entire thing. We did not see one set of bagpipes. We saw no Irish dancers. We heard zero Irish songs. There was no Irish songs. But you know what we did see? We saw a lineup of 12 Mexican guys in lowriders blasting Tejano music while dressed as leprechauns. And all I can think is, where is my cultural outrage? Where is the difference? What is the fine line between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation? And why is it that we Irish are allowed to be lampooned and it's your holy day? It's a holiday. It celebrates the day that Patrick brought Christianity to the. He St. Patrick chased out the snakes. No, he didn't chase out the snakes. There were no snakes in Ireland. There aren't snakes in Ireland. Snakes don't belong in Ireland. They never have been in Ireland. It's a metaphor for St. Patrick chasing out the pagans and bringing Christianity. That's what the whole snakes thing is. So, it is it's a religious holiday that's supposed to celebrate the culture of Ireland switching from paganism, Celtic paganism, to Christianity, to Roman Christianity. And why is it that people are allowed? I mean, we saw people of obvious different cultures, wearing the green hat, dressed like leprechauns, and everybody's drinking and getting drunk, and there's a million beer trucks, and it's all about. And my kid goes, because my kid's very, very up on this stuff. He goes, isn't this all cultural appropriation? And I go, no, it's not. He's like, what's the difference? And I said, because you see, we Irish, we don't define ourselves by our oppression. We are happy that people are recognizing us and we are being celebrated, and that is wonderful. And he goes, but if I wore a sombrero and started to, like, my kid got into that whole thing, right? Because kids today, they know about this stuff because, everything's about, for Cinco de Mayo, you can't show up to school wearing a sombrero, or you know what I mean? You can't just like, let's have tacos for Cinco, because that's somehow offensive. Yet here he is, this little Irish kid, watching his culture being just thoroughly mocked and joked about, and so I had to have that conversation with him. I wonder if you had any thoughts on that. Like, well, why isn't it cultural appropriation?
It's definitely not a cultural appropriation in most instances, like when you do wear a sombrero for Cinco de Mayo, when you dress up in like a leprechaun for St. Patrick's Day. This is not cultural appropriation. In fact, I really don't think there is such thing really as cultural appropriation. Like, what does that mean? Like, if I eat Indian food, is that cultural appropriation? If I make Indian food and sell it in my own restaurant, even though I'm not Indian, I'm like literally making a profit off the intellectual property derived from your culture. That's supposed to make me a bad guy. That's ridiculous, And look, the cultural appropriation rules are something that exists specifically so it can be selectively enforced. Because like no one really.
Isn't the difference that, if you're a quote oppressed people, and then the non-oppressed are somehow gaining some joy out of your cultural territory, then it's bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if a white guy is doing tequila shots and going underlay, underlay, wearing a sombrero on Cinco de Mayo, that's cultural appropriation, because you don't get to do that because you were not oppressed. And that's kind of what I think it is. I think it all comes down to who the oppressed were. But nobody in Europe was oppressed more than the Irish. It's just that we're white. It's just that our skin is white, so nobody gives a shit about us, even though we have been brutalized as a nation by the British Empire for 1,000 years. And you're just colonizers. The Irish never colonized anything. The British attempted to colonize us. We're the Native Americans. The Irish are of that part of the world. The Irish people are the Native Americans. The Brits came in, they took all the Catholic land and gave it to Protestants and said, we don't want you people here. They tried to starve us out in 1847 during the potato famine, when they took all of our food and all of our meat and then said, here, have potatoes. They grow on shit land. And then the potato crop failed, and millions of Irish people starved to death. I mean, nobody has been more oppressed by us. Yet I couldn't really answer his question about why is it okay to make fun of us. It seems like they're making fun, and I said they're not making fun. I go, they're appreciating us. This is the difference between appropriation and appreciation. And truly, I guess it just comes down to the point of view of the person who is theoretically the victim, right? So me being 100% Irish with grandparents from Ireland, people who came over here, I would be the victim in this case. I would.
Yeah. Well, look, it should, and it did when we were kids, depend on the intent of the depiction. Because, when Al Jolson does it, clearly he's not like doing it for funsies or out of respect for his black neighbors. Right. But no one really thinks when Justin Trudeau did it 28 times in the 80s and 90s that he really has hatred and racism in his heart. No one really thinks Justin Trudeau's some sort of anti-black racist or anti-Indian racist.
Ted Danson is a better example. When he was dating Whoopi Goldberg, he wasn't being a racist. He was just being Ted
right.
Danson.
And isn't there a Howard Stern thing that he did with Sherman Helmsley, where he's in blackface,
Yeah.
or he's saying the N-word and whatnot.
People
No
just
one
revel
really
in being the
believes.
victim. That's what it is. I think people just revel these days in being the victim and finding any territory that they can stake out where they can claim victimhood.
Well, it's also what you see most of it is, though, is people being offended on behalf of some other group that they're not even a part of. Like the people who were offended by the Redskins, it's mostly like effeminate white people. And the people that are offended by a cultural appropriation, and oh my God, I can't believe you. It's my culture, not a costume. We know who's putting those posters up.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. My little 12-year-old kid wanted to know why it was okay for everybody to be doing this time, because
he's right. He's right to point it out. It's a double standard. It's absurd. It is illogical. It's irrational.
He was 12 hours away. 12 hours earlier, he had just watched a documentary where he saw footage of his countrymen being executed in the middle of Dublin for standing up to the British police. And he's like, why is it okay for them to make fun of our culture? I ginned him up a little so that he understood more about what the Irish were all about. And then 12 hours later, he's at a parade and he sees a bunch of Mexican dudes in lowriders dressed like leprechauns. And he's like, what the hell?
Let's get him some gun training, Pugs. Let's get him some gun training.
Oh God, he's a gun enthusiast. He's a Texan. It comes with the card.
Bring him out here. We'll go shooting.
All right. Nah, he can get that from the other side of his family. He gets my side of the family.
Come on. We got a farm out here. We just go shoot skeet with a big old shotgun. He can come out. He can come out.
I don't like guns.
It'd be fun.
That's not something he needs to be around. But that's fine. Your kids, your choice.
I know. Why should Americans have gun training? That's never been important in their history.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, James. Tomorrow, is your friend going to join us? I thought your friend was going to join us today.
Dude, she's about as reliable as a crackhead. She is not, and she's not a crackhead. I'm just saying she is not reliable. How about that?
Well, she's always welcome. We got room. We don't need her. It'd be nice to meet her. That's all I'm saying. We can do whatever we need to do without her. All right,
she's a character.
So we're not going to do our tournament of awesomeness.
We can. I'm not against the idea. It just
shit all over it. You shit all over my big idea. It
feels narcissistic. Like I don't feel like Jeff or Byron or any of these people care what I would think is fun or not.
Sure, they would. They would be interested in whether or not you like free porn more than nachos. I think that would be interesting, because it's not about just you going nacho. It's about you thinking it through. It's about the content that comes from me.
Let's do it then.
Nah, we're not doing it. I'm done. I didn't like the reaction. Hey, he's gone. He just left. All right, everybody, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for the High Noon Show. Sorry, I'm a little sketchy tonight. I took my no, can't just be. I've been battling my sinuses the last couple of days. It's this damn barometric pressure that's killing me. It's a little sketchy. Wasn't on my game. But I took my pills, so I'm going to go to sleep now, and I will probably wake up around 8:30 in the morning. So by the time noon rolls around, I'll be filled with coffee and attitude. So please join us for High Noon tomorrow at noon. We go through all the day's topics, trending topics, headlines, current events, all of that stuff. And then we come back. We do a second stream every night at 9 p.m. right here. Yeah, John, it's not really. The pollen only seems to bother me in my sinuses certain times of the year. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I guess this would be the certain time of the year. But what really gets me is big changes in barometric pressure. Like, I can predict. My mom can tell when it's going to rain because of her knee. She's been able to do this her whole life. Like, she gets a knee ache, like, just before it rains. And that's barometric pressure. That's the barometric pressure changing the fluid in her knee. I get that with my head. Like, I can tell when a big storm is coming through. We're going to get some storms here. I don't know. Maybe they just went through, but oh my God. And it's also spring. But spring in Texas isn't the same as like spring in the Midwest. You know, it's like, it doesn't really radically change. I got my air conditioning on now. What is it? It's March 15th. I got the air conditioning on. It's hot today. See, I'm just rambling. I'm talking. I'm making no sense because this thing. All right. I love you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow at noon. Support the show if you can. You're the best at that. Have a good one. High noon show tomorrow right here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform.